Hey everyone, Darius here. So this game is going to be a pretty standard Warpal versus DK Disc. The difference between it and a normal game is that it ends very quickly. And a pretty common question that I get is, "Hey Darius, how do I do kind of a big damage rotation?" So I'll try and break down uh, our kill on this Paladin, both for the reasons why it occurred and how I set it up. So here's the opener. Typically, my advice for an opener like this is, especially on Blade's Edge, is you wanna don't allow the warrior to get his charge for free. Make him have to put some effort into it. Him opening with a charge feeds him a nice amount of rage and kind of lets him get going. So if you can deny that to any extent, it's typically in your favor. So let them come to you and let them come to you and just keep being annoying and deny that charge if you can. Ideally, he has to do something like this, like jump out and kind of put himself in a suboptimal position. One of the big mistakes here that he also made was the paladin used the freedom. So this is we're going to be capitalizing on that later, but using a freedom in this position, I mean, Shady's under zero pressure, right? So of course he's just going to immediately dispel it. He does get charged, but then very quickly afterwards, there it is, it's dispelled. So, okay, now mistake number two from this paladin, which, like I said, really allows this setup here, is that he's come down and jumped down on his own. Like he didn't try to, he either fell or he just couldn't position well to heal his warrior. So he just hops down, and that basically enables Shady to just walk right into him in fear. And so in this case, although it looks like we're under a bit of pressure because the warrior's storming, not really. Shady has his paints up still. We're both fully topped. I've got a shield. He's just going to bounce palm between us, storming us like this. And more importantly, this paladin has just been feared without us having to use grip. So this is kind of I touched on this in a previous video where the strength of grip is not using it as a gap closer. Don't just treat it as a charge, because then it's just a really shitty long cooldown charge. The strength of death grip is placing your opponents where they don't want to be. And in this case, the paladin's already used his freedom, right? So he's already used his freedom, which means if he gets caught in chains of ice isn't going to have a big effect on him because he just presses cleanse. But if he gets caught in desecration, more importantly, he's going to have a much worse time because he has no way to get out of that other than just W keying through it. So in this case, he put Sacred Shield on the warrior, so he doesn't have it on himself. He's pretty much ready to go. He's pretty much nice and prime for a setup here. But I don't like where he's positioned because if the fear breaks or he gets out of the combo somehow, or if during the silence he can make it around the pillar and line of sight the Garg, all of these things are not good for me. I want to optimize my damage like it's PvE, so I want to move him ideally from close to this pillar to over here where he'll be stuck in desecration and in line of sight of Mr. Gargoyle. So I grip him back, I pull him back in, now into the open, and there we go. He's completely clean at this point. He doesn't have Sacred Shield or anything, so Shady doesn't have to use any GCDs on dispels. He can just go immediately to dotting him right up. So he puts his double dots up. We got a string still. But he's still generally okay at this point. He's going to use Big Sack here. There it is. So he can still use Big Sack while silenced. So he's kind of reducing the damage he's taking by 20%. And the warrior comes in to peel with a disarm. So they think the paladin in this case, he probably thinks he's a little safer than he really is. But there's a lot of incoming damage from both my dots, Shady's dots, the gargoyle, and the follow-up that I'm going to be capable of doing here. And the thing about this opener is that even though I've been disarmed, the biggest counter to being disarmed, in my view, is not to use a sword shattering weapon. It's to prepare and accept for the fact that you're going to be disarmed. And in this case, I've prepared by pooling all my runic power. So I got my trinket proc, I got all my runic power ready to go, I've already got my Garg out, right? So I'm just ready to smash at this point. And I just need to make sure that he doesn't get, if I leave a gap in between his strangulate and the gnaw, he's going to get a holy shock off and the whole go is going to be ruined. So I make sure to follow up that strangulate with a gnaw, and he thinks he's still safe. Like he doesn't react to this. He gets gnawed, but he's like, oh well, I'm at 10k. I'm fine. I got my big sack. This dude's disarmed. How am I going to die? Well, the reason he's going to die is because my previous global was a coil plus pyro rocket, and then I've charged up and explode here, and so he's still at just 50%. So he thinks he's fine. But the beauty of the explode, I always try to send it against holy paladins with about 80 runic power left, because I can send that explode, and at the same time that the explode GCD lands, the death coil will land, and at the same time as the explode and the death coil land, usually a Garg and a dot tick and an auto attack will all land. So you can kind of put someone with this kind of delayed damage, and you can lull them into believing they're safer than they are, and then hit them with a huge amount of burst all at once, and that's exactly what happens here. And he's just gone. He's just deleted from the game. So he was at 50% literally a half second ago, and now he's just dead. And so that's just the general combo. That's how you deal with the peels. That's how you deal with the disarms. That's the ideal setup. Obviously, most teams, they're not going to walk into you like this. They're not going to let you get this. But in terms of the requests that I've gotten of, hey, Darius, what's your big damn opening combo? I don't really think I could have done it much better than that. So I hope you found this video informative and helpful, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Thanks.